I didn't hear that, sorry. Yeah, as I said one more time, it really is very, very, very silly for Unitarian Universalists to misuse blasphemy law to cover up pedophilia and rape committed by Unitarian Universalist ministers. You're absolutely correct about that, madame. So, I just showed up here in front of the Lakeshore Unitarian Universalist congregation, where there's a service today for the Eastern Regional Gathering of the Canadian Unitarian Council. And as I was preparing my picket signs, a woman said, "That's silly." Unfortunately, my camera was not at the ready for that, because I was just getting started up here. But you know, I turned on the camera and responded to her rather silly saying that my protest against Unitarian Universalist misuse of blasphemy law to cover up pedophilia and rape is silly, when in fact, if anything is silly, it's falsely accusing a person of the criminal act of blasphemous libel in Bill Cosby-style legal bullying. That's clearly intended to cover up and hide what the Unitarian Universalist Association's Canadian attorney describes as such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape. So as we can see, you got a fair bit of wind here. That'll probably affect the sound quality of the video. But I intend to, you know, continue my little protest here. It's around 10 o'clock, a little after 10 o'clock. The service starts at 10:30, so I'm going to protest for at least half an hour to an hour as people enter, and we'll see what happens. But I already had a rather silly reaction from a Unitarian Universalist, Canadian Unitarian. So yeah, it's really funny how they say it's silly to protest these things. I'm sure that if you know, it was another denomination misusing blasphemy law to cover up a pedophilia and rape, that Unitarian Universalists would have a different reaction. I'm sure if I was protesting against the misuse of blasphemy law to cover up pedophilia and rape by, let's say, the Roman Catholic Church, which apparently isn't stupid enough to do that kind of thing, that Unitarian Universalists would actually support that. So, got some people coming this way here. So a guy looks at my unsafe sect picket sign. He was giving me the look of death as he walked towards me, like staring me straight in the eye, but didn't say a word. A little bit of passive aggressiveness, which is actually quite typical of Unitarian Universalists. But yeah, and the other thing, of course, that's typical is extreme willful ignorance and psychological denial. I mean, I'm standing here with picket signs that say Unitarian Universalist misuse blasphemy law to cover up and deny pedophilia and rape, and the guy can't even be bothered to ask a question or two as to, you know, why I'm displaying those signs. It may be that he already knows. Maybe that he's already been, you know, seen my blog posts, or he might have seen my Twitter feed, or he might have been briefed in quotation marks by Canadian Unitarians. I wouldn't be surprised if the Canadian Unitarian Council said, oh, by the way, you know, this protester might show up, and gave them a bullshit version of why I'm protesting. So he may have a warped idea of why I'm protesting, provided to him by the Canadian Unitarian Council. But yeah, he just gave me this sort of deathly stare kind of thing. So anyhow, I've got a few people already, and say already half a dozen or so Unitarians have seen the signs, as it were. And we'll just keep circulating out here. What's that?
Have to look into that one, eh?
Yeah, they actually had me served with a cease and desist demand letter, accusing me of the criminal act of blasphemous libel.
I don't think that's
No, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that doesn't work out too
No,
well.
it didn't work out for them very well at all because two things. First of all, the premise was false.
Yeah.
They said I made unfounded and vicious allegations about ministers being pedophiles and rapists when in fact they were charged, tried, and convicted. But the interesting thing is, they're accusing me of blasphemy. You know, they're accusing me of blaspheming against the church. Well, there's only one circumstance under which I could be guilty in terms of what they're accusing me of, and that's if they held pedophilia and rape to be sacred.
Yeah, that's right. I was just going to say that.
No, that's right.
Makes sense.
It's insane. It's insane. So I'm having fun protesting it. I like your Peru. Do you like Peru? I mean, you're interested in Peru?
I sponsor a child's education
right.
in Peru.
You interested in the Nazca lines?
Yeah. There's some of the people of
Well, the reason I ask is because I have a little theory about the Nazca lines. Mm-hmm. So if you go on Google and you search Nazca lines eclipses, you'll find interesting information.
Well, yeah, they told me to go on the Google, but my computer's at Concordia, so
right.
I don't get up there too often.
No worries, yeah.
So I got to check that out.
Yeah, just a future reference.
Yeah, I know.
Catch you later.
Yeah, good luck.
Okay, right. Thank you. Yeah. So a gentleman was curious about the picket signs, and I explained to him briefly what it was about, and yeah, he understood right away that it's just ludicrous for Unitarians to accuse me of blasphemous libel to hide pedophilia and rape, especially since the only circumstance that I could actually be guilty of blasphemous libel for criticizing Unitarian Universalist pedophilia and rape is if such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape were held to be sacred and holy to Unitarian Universalism. There's a bit of a legal blunder on the part of the Unitarian Universalist Association and its Stikeman Elliott Barristers and Solicitors litigation lawyer, Maitre Marc-Andre. Oh, the guy's looking back at the sign. Anyhow, yeah, it's quite hilarious when you think about it. You know, the actual accusation went like this. Your unfounded and vicious allegations to the effect that ministers of the association engage in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape are defamatory. And it went on to say that they are so defamatory that they amount to or constitute the criminal act of blasphemous libel. Now, I didn't even know what blasphemous libel was. You know, when I obviously knew what blasphemy is, I also knew what libel is, but I had never in my life been confronted by the term blasphemous libel specifically, and you know, being referenced to a section of the Canadian Criminal Code. You know, so I did a little bit of research and quickly discovered that Canada did in fact have a blasphemy law, and essentially it's incredibly vaguely worded. Like there's no description of what blasphemous libel is in the law itself. It just says, you know, whosoever commits a blasphemous libel, you know, can, you know, be sentenced to 2 years in jail. I mean, that's not the exact wording, but that's the essence of what it says, and that's about all it does say. Is just, you know, if you're convicted of blasphemous libel, you can be sentenced to a jail term of up to 2 years. So I had to do research into the jurisprudence, and very quickly discovered that you know, essentially it's blasphemy. It's a law. It's an anti-blasphemy law, and the upshot is that blasphemous libel is attacking, you know, in an extremely offensive way, you know, those things that are held to be sacred and holy to a religion. So again, you know, the only way I could be guilty of the criminal act of blasphemous libel for blog posts that criticize Unitarian Universalist pedophiles and rapists, as if such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape were held to be sacred and holy by the Unitarian Universalist religious community. And I knew that early on, but I saved it for a rainy day to ask the UUA's lawyer that question. I actually waited a couple of years, I think, before I finally sent them a letter saying, are you trying to tell me that the Unitarian Universalists hold pedophilia and rape to be sacred? So I got some people pulling up. She's reading the signs. So, just adjust the protective plastic. I got protective plastic against rain. It's not actually raining, but it was yesterday, and it could again today. So anyway, got a certain number of people here who have seen the picket signs. I think I may take off the plastic covering since it isn't actually raining, and I think the signs will be okay. And they'll be a little bit easier to read with the plastic covering off.
First time I hear about that.
Well, it's true.
You know what? What about the Catholic Church and the priests and all those people that have been...
What about them?
Yeah,
I'm talking about your church.
my church.
I'm talking about your religious community.
I've never seen it or heard of
Well, maybe you should do some research.
it. You know, all the people there.
So here's a classic example of diversion and psychological denial. The woman says, I've never heard this. What?
What did you say?
I said the woman just presented a classic example of willful ignorance and psychological denial, because she saw this sign and she said, I've never heard about it. And so if she's never heard about it, it doesn't happen, So, in other words, she's just pretending it's not true. So
What are you saying?
I'm saying that the Unitarian Universalists, specifically the Unitarian Universalist Association in Boston, has falsely accused me of the criminal act of blasphemous libel in legal bullying that's intended to cover up pedophilia and rape committed by Unitarian Universalist ministers. And that is a fact. I actually was served with a cease and desist demand letter that said if I didn't take down blog posts that told the truth about Unitarian Universalists who had been convicted of pedophilia and rape, that I could be charged with the criminal act of blasphemous libel. So,
Oh yeah?
yeah. Yeah. So it's a clergy abuse cover-up, and that's probably outrageous in the sense that Unitarian Universalists have a long tradition of opposing blasphemy laws. So on the one hand, they speak out against blasphemy law, but on the other hand, they try to use it against me to hide pedophilia and rape committed by Unitarian Universalists.
You were arrested.
Arrested for what? Blasphemous libel? I should be arrested for what, sir? Come and tell me. Come and tell. Pollution. Oh, I should be arrested for pollution. Maybe. See this again. The guy tells me I should be arrested for what? I'm protesting. I have a legitimate reason to protest. He wants me arrested. This is called censorship.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this pure hypocrisy. This church. It really is. We can talk some more if you want, but you just saw two examples there of Unitarians burying their head in the sand when they're confronted by injustice committed by their own church. If it was another church and I was protesting against this, they'd be all supporting me. But because it's their church, they pretend there's nothing wrong and that I'm... What?
Yeah. Yeah, that sucks.
It is, yeah.
Happened to you,
Yeah. Well, that's not the only thing that happened to me. Actually, you know what? I'll tell you something. I'm actually enjoying this because it's so insane and so stupid that the church just looks stupid. I don't look stupid at all. Like when I say Unitarians are accusing me of blasphemous libel, pedophilia, and rape, I don't look bad. It's the church that looks bad.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
so that doesn't bother me at all. Now, there's other things that did happen to me that are not right. But since you're interested, the Unitarian Universalist religious community as a whole, So let's say the United States and Canada. We'll limit it to the United States and Canada. And they're very closely related. A lot of the ministers are Americans. It's basically a Canadian branch office of an American church. It's not really a Canadian church per se. The point I'm trying to make is that when it comes to clergy misconduct of any kind, it doesn't have to be pedophilia, rape. It can be other sexual misconduct that's less serious, having an affair with the congregant or something. But even non-sexual misconduct, when the minister behaves badly and you complain about the minister, you're the one that gets in trouble, not the minister. Like any other church, if anyone who complains about clergy misconduct in the Unitarian Universalist Church is almost always badly treated by the church. So that's why I'm protesting.
And how come you're protesting at this church? Like, have there been incidents at this church?
Not this specific church, but right now it's they're having their big Eastern Regional gathering. So I want as many Unitarians to know because like some people probably don't even know about this. So I want members of the church to know what's happening.
Yeah, because I work here.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't.
You're not a member of the church. Yeah, you work for the.
Well, I take care of the kids like during the service.
Okay, right. Okay, so you're not a member of the actual church. You just.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, right. No, that's fine. So.
I'm sorry that this happened to you.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It'd be nice if they finally got around to saying it. I'm waiting for them to say sorry, but thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. Yeah. So this gentleman is not a Canadian Unitarian, but he does take care of the daycare. And I guess he's here today to take care of the daycare kids during the service of the Canadian Unitarians. Whoops, a daisy. Looks like my headphone got in the way of the lens here. It slipped out. So anyway, had a nice chat with him. I didn't know who he was. I thought he might be a younger, Canadian Unitarian, but it turns out he's not.